And welcome back for another episode of MilSpouse in the House. I am your host, Christie Nix. I have been married to my husband for 22 years. 21 of those wedded bliss years were as an active duty Army wife. We have just recently crossed the bridge of retirement. We have just hit our first year officially as a retired family. And we have settled down in the Fort Stewart, Georgia area, where I am currently the head coach and personal trainer of our local Anytime Fitness. We are so glad to have you here with us again today for this episode. It is truly something special. We are celebrating one of the most uplifting traditions in the military spouse world, recognizing the spouses who lead, uplift, innovate, advocate, and make our community stronger every single day. And to help us do that, we have two extraordinary guests from Armed Forces Insurance, the organization behind the Military Spouse of the Year program. I'm thrilled to welcome Lori Simmons, Vice President and Chief Growth Officer at AFI, and a driving force behind the Military Spouse of the Year program, and Jaime Billert, your 2025 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year. Lori and Jaime, thank you both so much for being here. We cannot wait to dive into your stories, your leadership, and the impact this program is making nationwide. But first, before we dive into today's conversation, let's take a moment to look back at some of the biggest wins for military families in the year of 2025, brought to you by MilSpouses.com, a site built by military spouses for military spouses. So here's what shaped this past year. School choice expanded. A major executive order strengthened school choice options for military families, helping ensure continuity for kids navigating PCS moves. I absolutely love that. It is an amazing feature. Our oldest had been to 5 schools by the time she was in the 5th grade, so it is certainly a challenge for our little military kiddos. Another big thing for the year of 2025 was TSA access for families. TSA expanded free pre-check eligibility to military spouses and Gold Star families and rolled out new honor lanes at more than a dozen airports, giving service members, families, and veterans designated security access. PCS reimbursement overhaul. The DoD announced plans to overhaul PCS reimbursement, aiming to streamline costs and reduce the financial strain so many families experience during moves. New healthcare flex spending accounts. For the first time, military families gained access to healthcare FSAs, allowing them to set aside pre-tax dollars for a range of medical expenses, a huge quality of life win in our military community. More details can be found on MilSpouses.com. New year, new goals, but let's be honest, sometimes it's the same mental load. Talkspace makes it easier to take care of your mind in 2026. One message, one session, one step at a time. We'll be right back.
Being a military spouse comes with its challenges, but you don't have to navigate them alone. Welcome to MilSpouse in the House, your go-to podcast for real talk, support, and community. And thanks to our sponsor, Talkspace, getting the mental health support you need is easier than ever. Talkspace is a secure, HIPAA-compliant therapy platform where you can connect with licensed therapists anytime, from anywhere. Now in the TRICARE network for all TRICARE recipients, for children 13 and up, retirees, veterans, and active duty spouses, because mental wellness is for the whole family. Visit Talkspace.com/MilSpouse today and take the first step toward support that fits your lifestyle.
All right, everybody, welcome back. As promised, we are here with two powerhouse guests, Lori Simmons from Armed Forces Insurance and Jaime Billert, your 2025 Military Spouse of the Year. Lori champions an incredible program that uplifts spouses across the globe. And Jaime is living proof of the magic that can happen when our community sees, supports, and celebrates one another. So let's get into it, ladies. Lori, we're going to start with you. You're a military spouse yourself. Can you share a bit about your background and how you came to be involved with AFI and the Military Spouse of the Year program?
Absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me. This is exciting as we are in the nomination phase of this next year's program. I was born and raised in Leavenworth, Kansas, so grew up in a military community, had a lot of military friends, PCS'd once and to Kentucky and back to Kansas. I learned a lot about the military on that side of things. I've also been working with military organizations professionally for most of my career. So I've kind of gotten the full circle of activities that happen, not just with military families, but how companies can support our military community. And we started as a sponsor of the Military Spouse of the Year program. And I just got really close to the community and realized that this would be another way for us to live out the AFI mission. And that is our tagline, our mission is you. So we support the military community by covering their personal property, homes, autos. And so that's one way that we can support the military community. However, it's important too that we show them the support that they need on the personal side of things. And so when an opportunity arose for us to purchase the award program, to be able to take it to the next level, we did that in 2018. And we have continued to grow the program year after year, honoring our spouses for their unwavering support of not just our servicemen and women, but the community at large. So definitely a lot of moving and shaking that happens within this community. And we really wanted to showcase, all of the good things that these folks are doing.
Yeah, and so Jaime, that brings us to you. Many of our listeners know you from your work over the past year, but for those meeting you for the first time, tell us about your journey as a military spouse, where you've lived, what drives your passion, and what all of this title can mean to you.
This January will mark 8 years that my husband and I have been married, and based on our journey together, our marriage, I would say that my time as a military spouse really started 7 years ago when we moved to New York. So when I met my husband, I was in my home state of Illinois. So during that time, we were living on the economy. For non-military folks, that just means we weren't living on a base. And so I already had my job. I was from the area. The only thing that changed was I got married and I had a stepchild, and we, just continued on. So when we PCS'd, meaning, Kyle got orders and now we had to move, it was a lot. When we got married, again, we were in my home state of Northern Illinois. So when I went to go get my ID and we went to Great Lakes Naval Base, I had already been there. My oldest brother had served. He went through boot camp there. Granted, that was like 14 years prior. But being from the area, I knew that was there. I had visited it. So it wasn't, it's like, okay, I'm going to go here, but I still have my life. So when we moved to New York, that was outside of my reality or anything that I had thought of. I was moving halfway across the country. I was moving with an infant because by that point we had had our first child together. And I was moving into military housing. So there's pros and cons to that, but the people who my husband were working with were also the people I was living below and under, and the people we were socializing with. And I was away from my family. I mean, I went away for college, but that was like 40 miles from where I grew up. So again, just that geographical separation from your stereotypical support system, I think, is what a lot of spouses can assimilate to. So what do, right? You've got two choices, and the path I took was, it's ahead. Just look ahead, lean into it, and go. And so before we moved, just like a lot of spouses, I think, you go to the Google machine, you go to the Facebook groups, and I was seeing these posts from the Spouses Club in New York, and they were doing such fun things. And I was like, oh, that looks like a good time. And I would like to have a good time. I want to make the most of this experience. So when we moved, the first event that they had was, it was a club meeting. The family clinic, the office manager was going to be there, the ombudsman coordinator. So it was kind of like, welcome to the club, but here are the resources so you can talk with everybody. So I loaded up my babe in the stroller, and we walked down the street to the community center. And, being the new person, if you can channel that back when you're a little kid to an adult now, it's nerve-wracking. And I walked into that community center, and I was amazed. I get so emotional about this because it was just such an impactful moment, in my spouse journey in my life, because I was really impressed with the number of spouses who were there. Their demeanor welcoming me in, and then also there were children running around. So as I mentioned, this is my first time moving, military move, and I have a young family. Like when we moved, my son was like 6 or 7 months. So I was just embarking on that season of parenthood. So when I walked in and I saw that other spouses had their children there, to me, it said, these people are living it. They get it, and they're going to meet me where I'm at. They're going to welcome me where I'm at. And it just meant the world to me. And so I got involved with the club. I attended events when we'd have our board meetings. Who wants to approve the minutes, or what do you think about this? I try to take my time, let the seasoned people or who was there speak up. And then, I would try to contribute and be a part of the community. And when that season came to a close, and spouses were moving, and it came time to nominate or accept nominations to be on the club, I just rolled with it. I thought this made a real impact on my first impression of what it is to be a military spouse, and I want to keep this going and pay it forward to the next generation, the spouses that come behind me. And so I served as treasurer, then I was president, vice president, and I loved being a part of it. And I was still getting feedback or questions, do you want to do it another year? And it kind of got to the point where I realized I've had this experience. We were in New York for 6 years, and 3 of those I served on the Spouses Club board. And I had this moment of thinking, I know what has been, but things happen, right? New spouses are coming in, just time is passing, right? And with that, we need to evolve. And so I thought, I need to give someone else their time to step up and give back. So I stepped away from serving on the board, but still stayed an active member. And wouldn't you know, the unit ombudsman for Sector New York, they had left. And sectors are large in the Coast Guard, and that was overwhelming to me. So my husband was at a station, and the long and short of it was I got rerouted back to sector. And so I put my name in as a volunteer, and I interviewed with the command, and bless their hearts, they gave me a shot. And I'm really appreciative of that. So from there, pardon me, I served as the ombudsman for Sector New York. Then I served simultaneously for Station New York and MIST New York, which is the Maritime Safety and Security Team. And now that we've relocated, again, things just aligned. The previous spouse that was volunteering as ombudsman, which, pardon me, I keep saying this word, but it's just a link between families and commands to make sure that we're maintaining a work-life balance or addressing the needs of families. So that's kind of my progression of getting involved, volunteering, and becoming aware of different organizations like Armed Forces Insurance or other companies, corporations, or nonprofits that help fill the gap for families. And so, what does this title mean to me? The 2025 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year. What it means to me is a testament to the efforts of those spouses. I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but the spouses I met in 2019 when I first walked into that community center, and the spouses I've met along the way, because their efforts, their passion, it made me realize that the experience you have at a unit or an area is what you make of it. And there's a lot of work that these spouses put in to make sure that your time is memorable. And so I really view it as this title and this award is really theirs. They've lifted me up and helped me learn and grow how to serve. And this title is really theirs. And I don't know if this is intentional, but the way that I interpret to this year, my husband is in like that in between. He's not a junior member, but he's not a senior member. And so with that affiliation, because of my husband's rank and being named the overall winner, I think this is a really great moment in time to acknowledge the potential of these junior member spouses and these kind of in between, and their willingness and their desire to step into roles and hone their skills.
Yeah, that's so incredible. Such a good story, Jamie. And the whole time you were speaking, I just I kept thinking about my very first year as an Army wife. We're from the Atlanta area. I married my high school sweetheart. We moved right after he got his commission to Fort Irwin, California. And he left 10 days later for a year in Iraq. And, no kids. That certainly would have added a whole other component of hard. But now I've PCS'd. I'm an Army wife without my spouse. And my plan was to move home. I was going to move there with him, be there with him for those 10 days. And I was just going to go back and live with my parents. And the spouses I met in that first week was so significant that I completely pivoted and said, I need to be around these people. I need to spend this year around the women who have walked this path. Fort Irwin's so small, you have the opportunity to really sit and rub elbows with battalion commander spouses and brigade spouses, and General Cohn was the commanding general at the time, and so I was really able to absorb some of the knowledge and the wisdom and just the grit it took to be a successful spouse, but also their positive stories, and knowing that was going to be the nourishment I needed to navigate that year. But it also paved the way for what I chose to do with my time as a spouse because of what they did for me. And it just sounds like you were really welcomed so well that it set the pace for you to say, I want to help other spouses the way these spouses helped me. Lori, many people in our community love the Military Spouse of the Year program, but may not all know exactly how it started. Can you share the origin story with us?
Yeah, it's a great story too. It started in 2008, actually. And at the time, there was one overall winner, and that was it. A couple of years later, we started to have branch winners. So that expanded a little bit farther. And at that point, a voting process was implemented. And a few years later, we decided to grow the program even more and start at the base level. So now there are base winners. And so think about that. I mean, every branch of service and every military installation could have a base winner. And what I always tell everybody is, that is an accomplishment in and of itself, just to win base. I mean, you can carry that title forever. It's your title. No one else will ever be the 2026 Fort Leavenworth Spouse of the Year. That's your title. So that's super exciting, because I think sometimes we don't think about how much work is actually done on the ground. And, it's great to be elevated to the branch level and then to the overall, but there's a lot to be said for those base winners as well. And the other thing that I feel like was sort of pivotal in the evolution of the program is the 5 criteria that that the candidates are judged on. And the voting process in general. I think it's important to get this information out to everybody who might be interested in nominating a spouse. The categories that we judge the spouses on are leadership, which, by the way, is weighted more heavily than the other 4, because a lot of the feedback that we've received from senior military leaders is that that's their favorite part of this program, is how leadership is so important to the program and what that does, how that trickles down to all of the other spouses as well. Your involvement, you have to be someone who's involved, and you just heard Jaime talk about her involvement, so that's a great example of that. Community building. It's important for us in the military community to build bridges between the military community and our civilian friends. There's a lot of good that we can do together. It doesn't have to be all military or all civilian. So building the community is very important. Communication. Obviously, communication is key all the way through all of these other pillars. And then to have some compelling story. There's so many stories out there, and there's so many stories like Jaime just talked about, how somebody reached back around and grabbed her hand and pulled her up with them. And that is probably one of the most important aspects of the program, I think, is that, we need to be there for the next group. We need to be there for the next generation. We need to, help them see that there's power in numbers, and that when we stick together and we help each other, we can accomplish anything, and we can get through the trials and tribulations that are constant in the military community. So here we are. In 2018 was when Armed Forces Insurance acquired the award, and we've continued to build that out. We've added the National Guard branch through the years. A few years ago, we added Space Force now, so we do have 7 branches that are recognized in the program. And we are in the nomination phase right now. Nominations end on January 16th. So if you know a spouse, work to get that person nominated. They must be on active duty. I will say that. We've had some questions about retired military spouses being able to participate. And that's not something that we are doing as of yet. But once nominations are in, then I think it's the next week will be the base voting. And then from the base voting, things get a little harder, I'll say. There's a lot more emphasis put on each nominee's, or each candidate, I should say's profile. They are asked to complete a profile that give the public an idea of how they are contributing to those categories, those judging categories that I mentioned. And at that point, we have a guest judging panel as well as an MSOY panel. The MSOY panel consists of all of the previous branch winners. We have many that participate every year and take this very seriously. Having come up through the program, they realize the credibility that this award has, not just with the at the base level, but really at the senior military level. And so we pare that down to the top 21, so the top 3 spouses for each branch of service, and from there, the branch winners are the top 21 are scored. There is a scorecard that is completed. The numbers add up. The top 3 are shown at the top of the list, and from there we go to a branch vote. And so, out of those top 3 per branch, a branch winner percolates to the top with the scores, and then we have an overall vote that occurs, and we keep that secret until everybody gets together in May and the unveiling occurs at the luncheon, and it is exciting.
That is quite a process.
It's overwhelming too.
Yeah, I was
saying at those, but it's. Sorry, Christy,
well, I was
go ahead.
Comparing it to like right now, the college football playoffs are
Yes.
all over the news, and the brackets and the voting and the committee, and I'm like, I think this is maybe a little bit more intense.
Yeah.
That's good though. I mean, because I'm sure it's so hard, mostly because all of them are volunteers, right? They're all choosing to spend their time doing something that they had to raise their hand and say they'd be willing to do. So to even vet that and say who was the best. But I know it's a metric that's worth evaluating and such an honor to receive. So Lori, a lot of our listeners are probably thinking of someone right now, a friend that goes above and beyond for their unit, the base, the community. So for anyone thinking, I know exactly who should be nominated, how can they get started doing that?
Go to MSOY.afi.org, and that website will talk you through the login procedures and then how you can nominate.
You have until January 16th, so whenever you hear this, if it's not January 16th, hop on and get someone nominated. Well, Jaime, let's go back to you a little bit. So you've had a whirlwind of a year for 2025 Military Spouse of the Year. So what has the experience been like, and any moments that felt especially meaningful or eye-opening?
Yeah, so I'll preface and say that I'm definitely one where I think the little moments add up, accumulate right to big things. So I have a hard time narrowing it down, but I'll try to articulate this within the parameters of your question. So being branch winner for the Coast Guard, and then overall, has been a wonderfully challenging experience. And I mean that in the most positive way, because this past year, being a part of this community, and the community I mean of all these spouses, from base winners up to my fellow branch winners, they've pushed me to grow and develop both the skills that I already have and those that are not my strengths. So just before town hall, I attended the Coast Guard National Ombudsman Training, and thanks to Chaplain Bowden, she facilitated a DISC personality test. It's, and so DISC, D-I-S-C, they all stand for different things. And I appreciate this because it really helps me articulate the way I'm answering questions now and just how I interact with people and interact the past year. So I scored high in conscientiousness, steadiness, and I have a perfectionist pattern. So what that means is when I look at a situation, I focus on the task first, and then how people are going to navigate or work within that task. Not to say that I don't value people, because I feel like I'm very much an empath. But that's my first line of thought. And that perfectionist pattern, I really crave and gravitate, right? Set parameters. So being a part of this community, the MSOY community, and this past year, I've been able to connect with other spouses who align, with those traits and how they approach a situation to bridge the gaps for military families. But then also, too, I've been able to connect with spouses who are strengths in the people first. And it really helps me take a pause, give space, and it's helped me grow. Am I where I want to be? No, but I really feel like we as human beings are lifelong learners, and this being a part of this community the past year has helped me strengthen my skills and fill in those deficit areas. And we've been very fortunate. By we, I mean myself and my fellow branch winners, because we've taken 2 trips already together, and we've got one on the horizon. And the first one we went to was with Rate. They previously went by Guaranteed Rate. And for the folks that don't know, they own the White Sox Stadium in Chicago. And they, each year, I believe, they do a military and family tribute night. And we were invited to go. But the awesome thing is, their military outreach coordinator, Yvonne Combs, is a part of the program. I want to say, Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, she's from 2018, is that right?
No, I believe it was 2023, maybe 22.
Oh, I was off. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. She's the Army Spouse of the Year for her year.
Yes, and so she works with that company, and a lot could be said about the fact that she works for that company. She's a part of the MSOY program, and how she's reached behind and pulled us up. And that experience was wonderful because, for me specifically, why it stood out for me, I already addressed, my characteristics based on this personality test. It was a great way for me to learn, all right, the task at hand is how to help military families. Guaranteed Rate, we were able to learn during that visit how they help families and veterans navigate like VA loans, financial assistance, but also how that company goes beyond and what they fulfill through their military outreach. And then also too, why are we out there? It's for the military family tribute night. So that was a good time for me to, stretch my muscles that are kind of weak in that people first aspect, and, focus on the people, celebrate the families.
That was your task.
It was really great.
That was your task.
Yeah. So that was wonderful. And then Lori was really kind, and Armed Forces Insurance, they invited all of us branch winners out to headquarters in Kansas because in addition to Lori spearheading this program, there's a team behind her. So again, putting those people first, we were able to go to headquarters, meet with members from the company who support the program or who participate in the voting process and the evaluation process. So again, that pushed me, that was a challenge for me to put the people first and say thank you, because I firmly believe sometimes a thankless job still deserves a thank you. It's been meaningful for me because it's challenged me in the most perfect ways to not only grow as a person, but in this season of life where, I'm volunteering and learning about the resources to military families and trying to give back and participate in those spaces, how I can grow as a professional and a community member.
That's such good knowledge, Jaime. I had been a military spouse for almost 20 years when I went to pre-command course with my husband. And
Okay.
the whole week we did the color insights because
Okay.
you're calling budsman. I'm thinking, is that the same as like an SFRG in the Army? I'm wondering. Okay.
It's the same as the Family Readiness Course.
Which
Yes.
is really working with other people. And I'm a red, yellow, and so red is perfectionist, very task oriented. So I have that leadership quality that Lori was talking about. But your ability to lead is only as good as your ability to communicate and connect, right? And those were two of the other parts that Lori said you're judged on. I find the communication piece to be very hard because a lot of that you're at the mercy of your command as well, because you're putting things out at
Sure.
formation and at the motor pool, and some people buy into it and some don't. And then the
Yep.
connection piece, right? We have to see beyond rank and beyond position, beyond title, to connect.
Yep.
And so the red and yellow is only as good as. So I'm so proud of you, and I'm so grateful that you had that type of professional development, because what we do is so important. And while the your heart position and posture was what you had first, to make the most impact of your time, you're learning how to better serve, using your strength, right?
Yes.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
So with that information and all of that growing, and I think you said you've been a spouse for 8 years, so that's so
Yep.
much in a short amount of time. What have you been able to do locally or on your base that you feel like you've been able to make a good impact with that?
I was awarded branch overall branch spouse for Coast Guard, and then overall for the program in May, and then in July we moved. So now I'm in a new area. Yeah. And I'm just going to be transparent and honest, because I think that will help listeners who are interested in participating in the program, whether that's nominating or putting your name in the hat to go. I was feeling, oh my gosh, okay, I've been pushed up to the top here. Lori mentioned there's these different criteria that you judge. Perfectionist pattern here, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not where I want to be in all these areas. I cannot believe that people are thinking that I'm already there. And now I'm overall, and I'm like, okay, what do I have to do during this year? And in conversations, Lori is very, very wonderful for a multitude of reasons. But what really stuck out to me, that she kept reiterating, and fellow spouses who had come before me who were branch winners or overall winners, all you have to do is accept the award, right? A thankless job still deserves a thank you. Just take the genuine compliment. So that gave me peace, because I moved to a new area. We're in the DMV, DC, Maryland area. And I'm very thankful, right? Whatever your belief is, someone is guiding me. And the previous ombudsman at my husband's new unit, they PCS, they moved themselves, so it was open. And I remember talking to my command at Station New York, and he had asked, are you gonna do it there? And I was like, well, I don't really know the area. I don't know if I can really serve those families. And again, look ahead, have faith, lean into it, because when we moved here, I reached out to the ombudsman for the National Capital Region, and you can be spread out, right? You don't have to live at Fort Belvoir or Fort Meade or Joint Base Bowling Anacostia, which are in our area here. You could be living on the economy outside the base. And the way that she articulated her email, I was like, okay, I can learn from her. I may not know everything, but I know someone who knows everything about that one thing, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, okay, I like this program. There's value in it. It's helped me, and I want to pay it forward. So long story short, I pushed myself for a new area. How do I serve? I pushed myself out of my perfectionist pattern, out of my, well, I need these parameters. So the way I've been able to give back this past year is connecting with other organizations and people who have the same passion as I do of bridging that gap for military families. And I think that story is important, and hopefully I'm not overlooking a detail, but if I am, hey, whoever, reach out to me so I can learn. It's all about community, right? You don't have to do everything on your own. And it takes a village, and the village is out there. You just, you got to make that connection. So that's the big thing over this past year since being given the title in May.
So one of my favorite taglines was bloom where you're planted, right? And you just took all the blooming you did in New York and then you positioned it somewhere else. And I think it takes a few PCSs when you realize, like, we're just a big hodgepodge, and we've probably crossed paths multiple times. So just because your location
Yep.
changed, the mission is the same. We just need the hands
Mm-hmm.
and feet, right? And you were the hands and feet. You know, one thing I've heard you reference a few times is some of the other military spouse of the year's alumni, right? Or even the other finalists. How what are those relationships like?
Yeah. I'm thinking there's three spokes on that wheel that I'm thinking about, or three legs on that stool, because you have your base winners, you have your branch winners, and then you have your overall winners. And the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that question is the six other spouses that I've gotten to know since being named a branch winner, and that I stood alongside with on that stage, and I've traveled to these trips with. And it's really wonderful. Again, any experience is what you make of it, right? So I say that because I think that we have a pretty good relationship, the seven of us. We're human beings, and we're learning and we're getting to know each other. But I'm really appreciative of these six other spouses because they have the service that they've done, right? The strengths that they have, and how I've been able to learn and grow from them. And other years, I know, I want to say like 2 years ago, those spouses are so tight, they did like a trip just on their own and went out on their own. So each year is unique to the individuals that are at the branch overall level, and the connections that they make. But I think by and large, it's positive, whether you're looking purely kind of professional, the service that you're doing, or if it, right, what's that season, or what's that saying? A friendship for a season, a reason, or a lifetime, right? That still holds
Yeah, of
true.
course.
And then too, even at the base level, I mean, I was a part of this program 2 years ago as a base winner, and I've really met some wonderful spouses at that level as well. And the work that they're doing, right, even if you don't get to the three finalists for the branch, that doesn't negate, right, the work that you've done.
100%.
And you know, just so many people are doing so many wonderful things. So that relationship, what it feels like, I really implore spouses to make the best of it. Maybe sometimes take things with a grain of salt, because we're all human, we're not perfect, but there are silver linings there. And I'm very appreciative of this opportunity to network and to get to know people that this program has afforded me.
Having been a part of this program for so many years, I think one of the biggest things that I see, and um, it's the gift that the community gives to me when I see lifelong friendships develop over time, and I cannot tell you the number of spouses who are a part of the MSOY program, part of the alumni, that have either had years of relationship with other spouses that they met through the program, or in some cases they've been part of the program and have just recently, you know, met their friend for life. And the cool thing about the program too, that I love to see, is how helpful we all are to each other. Um, we don't, not one person knows everything, but we all know someone who might be able to help in a certain situation. And that's the other thing that is just so heartwarming, is to overhear conversations about, well, so and so reached out to me and they would like for me to come and speak on this topic, but I'm not really the expert on that topic, but I know, Sally Smith is, and so I'm going to reach out to
Mm-hmm.
her and let her know that someone is looking for her expertise. And so just the sharing of opportunities, um, the
Yeah.
the promotion that the alumni continues to do to lift others in the group up. It's just one of those things. I've had people ask me, well, what can I expect from MSOY week is what we fondly call the week in May when we come to DC to share time together and learn, and for the award ceremony. And, it's different for different people, but it's one of those types of events that is really hard to describe. You have to experience it firsthand to like get it. And I've heard that from a lot of the spouses in the community too. It's like, well, I didn't know what to expect when I went there, but I didn't expect what I got, and that was a lot more than what I could have gotten. So just being able to network with each other, and then come to the realization that we have a lot more in common than we have differences. So it's very nice.
I love that. Well, I mean, and you think about what our spouses do in their work, right? I know my husband constantly was doing off-site leadership type opportunities where they would get together and talk and network with each other and grow from who else is in the room. And I love when spouses have the opportunity to emulate some of those strategic opportunities to grow ourselves on the work that we do, right? Because the work the spouses do is so significant. And so having the opportunity to be in a room with other women or other spouses who are on the same mission as you and rub elbows, talk, inspire, encourage, empower each other, share ideas, is such a powerful thing. And I would imagine refilling your cup as you go back out to pour back into others, right? Okay, so this next question is for both of you. What would you say to a spouse listening right now who wonders if they could ever be nominated, or someone thinking, I don't do anything big enough?
I would just say, don't sell yourself short. I always say this to everyone who's nominated, and we hear this a lot. We hear, I have no idea what I did to even deserve a nomination. Well, something that you did is being recognized by another person. So clearly that's valid. That's been validated. They would not have nominated you if they didn't think that you were worthy of the recognition. And so embrace it, take that on. That's important, I think. But I really hope that, more people nominate spouses. I think, it's hard, I think, for us in general, just as humans, to accept recognition. And I think as a military spouse too, we're just so used to doing extraordinary things that it becomes our new normal. And so when you look at it in that respect, that's probably why a lot of spouses say, well, I don't know what I did to deserve this recognition, because to them, it's just normal life. And so I think, my advice to all military spouses out there is, you are worthy. You have, and you deserve the recognition. You've worked hard and, supported, stood right alongside of your service member, and male and female. We actually have 2 male branch winners this year. So, and that's happened a couple of times before, but we do have several male military spouses in our community now, and it's awesome. It's just it's awesome to have that diversity.
Yeah, I would imagine hearing their perspective, right?
Their
We
perspective,
need
yes.
that in the room. They need a seat at the table. Absolutely, that's awesome. Jaime, what would your response be?
And it very much in alignment with Lori. The first thing that came to mind was my knowledge. I used to be a high school physics teacher, so the way I was going to articulate that is energy in a medium causes a disturbance. So whether it's a ripple or it's a wave of greater amplitude, you matter. The energy that you put out is having an effect on those around you. And they're impacted by it. So, what feels like a thankless action, a thankless job can still deserve a thank you. Many times it means a lot. And so let someone thank you or nominate you and take the genuine compliment. Let them pull you away from the trees so you can see the forest and realize, just like Lori articulated, I love that, Lori, because I never thought of it that way. A lot of this lifestyle is grit, resilience, forest resilience. You got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and maybe you don't have straps, but you got to pull something up. And, your community members, whether they're military themselves or it's on the economy, some civilian friends or organizations, again, they see the work that you're doing and they want to say thank you. That's why they're nominating you. So take the genuine compliment. And again, energy is going to cause a disturbance, whether you think that's a small level of energy or big, you're still doing it. So just, yeah.
I love that. Yes. Well, hopefully we have lots of nominations rolling in all the way up until January 16th. Send those nominations. Yes, and it matters. I do think a lot of people just love the nomination. They love the recognition. And, we get lots of certificates of appreciation. Those are great. But to know a fellow spouse or someone in the organization we're helping is nominating us, that alone probably could go a long way, right?
That's a good point,
And
too.
I would.
Oh, sorry, Jane. I was just going to say, great, Christy. A great opportunity to remind everyone that you don't have to be on active duty to nominate someone. Anyone you can nominate a military spouse. It can be your employer. It can be your friend. It can be, your cousin. It can be somebody in your city government. It can be anyone.
What's nice about this nomination and saying thank you in this capacity, I view it as that person, you've given something to them and they're trying to give something back to you. And the nice thing about this program and the nomination, like you were saying, Christy, with like that certificate of appreciation, this program goes beyond that. If you are at a base level, right, you are still invited to MSOY Week Town Hall in May. And what does that do for you? It's an opportunity to network with like-minded individuals that have similar skill sets, kind of like what I talked about earlier, or they have strengths in other areas that you can learn from. And so it's not just, oh, I nominated you, you have this title that you can throw into your email signature or put on your LinkedIn. It's, no, you have this title that you can carry with you forever, but then you're also invited to come to a networking opportunity where you can hear from guest speakers and you can network. I don't know why I'm trying to think of a different word, but with individuals who are trying to do similar, same, or help in a different capacity, and it's going to help you grow and develop as a person.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this program is such a powerful reminder of what military spouses accomplish every single day. When we come back, we'll dive into your questions for Lori and Jaime, how to support spouses who are doing big things in their communities, and how to get involved yourself. Stay with us for a message from Talkspace.
Being a military spouse comes with its challenges, but you don't have to navigate them alone. Welcome to MilSpouse in the House, your go-to podcast for real talk, support, and community. And thanks to our sponsor, Talkspace, getting the mental health support you need is easier than ever. Talkspace is a secure, HIPAA-compliant therapy platform where you can connect with licensed therapists anytime, from anywhere. Now in the TRICARE network for all TRICARE recipients, for children 13 and up, retirees, veterans, and active duty spouses. Because mental wellness is for the whole family. Visit Talkspace.com/MilSpouse today and take the first step towards support that fits your lifestyle.
And we're back with Lori Simmons and Jaime Billert, two women who prove that when military spouses lift each other up, incredible things happen. So we've got a couple listener questions that came in for you both. So Jaime, we're going to start with you. What's the best way to support a military spouse in our community who's doing big things, whether it's volunteering, advocacy, or running a nonprofit?
That's a great question. So, the first thing that came to mind, since I'm a task-oriented person, but I'm able to pull back. It's coming to me in my mind. The first thought is, what could you do to help them achieve that task? If you have a servant's heart as well and you want to get involved, what could you do to help them fulfill that mission? Now, flipping the meter and focusing on the person first, there's more, right? We're more than the job or the volunteer work that we do. So how could you take some of those spinning plates from them, or take some of those balls that they're juggling, and how could you help them out? On the other side of that, could that be a simple check-in, right? Send them a text. Hey, I'm thinking of you. How are you doing? If you have a closer friendship, what could you do on the home front, right, to help assist them? There's no shortage of things that you can do to help someone you care about who's doing all the things, whether it's on the professional side, helping them fulfill that mission or that task that they're carrying out to bridge the gap for military communities, or on a people first personal side to ease the load of their work-life balance. Does that make sense?
It really does. And, you said just a simple text or a check-in. I also think it's important to pour belief into each other, right? It's because we live in a bubble of this military community. And you're trying to articulate at times to the civilian world just exactly what all we go through first and foremost, but what also we do behind the scenes. And so to have another spouse that's either been in your shoes, walking alongside of you, or watching from a distance, pour belief, and oh my gosh, you're creating this event, you're going to have such a great turnout, and those that come are really the people that needed what you're doing. Or you're creating these food baskets, and it's just so amazing that you're willing to spend your time trying to help other people. Just pouring belief into the mission so they don't feel alone in that part, because the military's kind of dry and callous, right? They're not maybe nourishing and encouraging. Maybe they are, I'm not sure. But on the spouse side, I think it would be so refreshing. Your babies are crying in the background while you're trying to do all of these things. But it's for a good cause. Stay the course. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. When you said that, Christy, it made me think of love language. Give that affirmation, right? Those words of affirmation. And a nugget, I want to try to slip this into our conversation. When I took over presidency for the Spouses Club, I asked the captain of the port at that time, do you have any leadership books I can read? That was my question to him. Do you have some leadership books I could read, or anything that you would offer since I'm stepping into this leadership role? And bless Jason Thomas Hart, he told me, he goes, have you ever heard of the rule of threes or thirds? The rule of thirds. Have either of you ladies heard of that?
I've heard of that one,
Rule of thirds. Okay, so tell me if your understanding is different, but he said you can take a pie and you can cut it into thirds. A third of the people are going to love what you do. So this kind of goes along, Christy, with what you're saying, right? You're doing an event, people are going to love it, they're going to show what have you. So a third are going to love it. A third are just, they may not care. They're going to roll along with it or what have you. And a third of people, they might complain, they might find the fault in it, right? They might be your devil's advocate and kind of nitpick. But no matter how you cut that pie, you've got 2/3 of it, because the people who buy in and the people who don't really, can go either way, you can loop those together. And I loved that because, when you're doing all the things or organizing all the events or this and that, what is it? For every one negative thing, you have to do 2 or 3 positive statements, right, to combat that. And keep that rule of thirds in your mind if you've never heard of that before, and try to find peace and solace in that. Or now that you've heard it, listener, your friend that you're checking in on, use that as some affirmation for them.
Yeah, that's great advice. Sounds like a good book. Okay, second question. We're going to push to Miss Lori. How do you encourage someone to accept recognition when they feel like they don't do enough to deserve it? So this is obviously a popular theme within the military spouse community.
Yes, for sure. And I'm going to go back to what you just said. somebody is believing in you. Believe in yourself. And I think that the acknowledgement when somebody nominates you for this award, they're basically saying that they believe in you. You've made an impact on them in some way, and they feel like you have a lot to share, to pay it forward. And that's what this program is all about. It's paying it forward. I hear a lot of the term um, imposter syndrome. I hear that a lot. And what I always say to people that say, well, I don't understand, what I've done. I'm not worthy of this. Is I do go back to the whole, somebody believed in you. You impacted someone's life enough that they took the time to fill out a nomination for you for this program. So if somebody else believes in you, you need to believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's so very true. So true. And the imposter syndrome, I get that, but also in the military we do what's called continuity books. You're supposed to leave a blueprint for the next person. It's just,
Right.
Is that next person going to say yes? So if you're saying yes, that alone is worth the nomination, right? Because that part is always up in the air. Someone has to
Right.
say yes. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
That's a
Jaime,
good point, Christy.
what advice do you have for spouses who want to get more involved or make a difference but don't know where to start?
Yeah, I think, my journey as a spouse and getting involved, it kind of speaks to that. And that's my background knowledge that I'm drawing on. You want to get involved, you don't know where to start. What are you already involved in? What organizations have maybe helped you during a season of life, and you're appreciative of that? Circle back, Google them, sign up to be a volunteer. Or what's going on at your local base? What's going on at your local unit? Or kind of, keep your ears open when they say, hey, this is coming up, we need help with this. If that's in your wheelhouse, or you think it's maybe something on the peripheral edge that you could maybe try, fake it till you make it, just jump in. Your heart is there, and as long as that genuine desire is there, the actions, all of the other stuff will fall into place. So focus on what are your interests, what are you passionate about, probably most likely because of what you've traveled already, what's helped you, and turn back around, go back to that organization, that group, and reach your hand out so you can lift up their mission and a shared passion between you and them.
Yeah, so you mentioned sub clubs for Spouses Club. I was never on the Spouses Club board, but I hosted a fitness sub club. And so I would load up my car.
Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, with weights and sandbags and medicine balls. And we would go to the track. Worst case scenario, moms pushed babies in strollers and they got in a good walk while they spoke with another spouse. For those that could do the circuit work, I put them through a circuit. And I did that once a month. And it was my passion, something I was good at. And I just donated my time. And that was a really cool year that I was able to do that. So there's something out there for everyone. So I have a feeling if you look for it, you're going to find it.
And if I can say real quick, Christy, that's something, these sub clubs in the Spouses Club that I've been a part of, just these two, the New York one and now the one in the National Capital Region, those sub clubs are evolve as the club evolves, right? Based on the passion or the skills, of the members. And so
the tempo of it, the commitment. I mean, that's what's the beauty of it, right? Is you really kind of get to set the pace of that sub club. So, but then you get to make deeper friendships with the people at Spouses Club. So it's a more easy way to grow together throughout the year outside of the meetings. So, but I have a feeling if you start looking, you're going to find a place to step up. So once you find it, I'm going to encourage you to say yes to it. Don't then talk yourself out of it, because we all just started by saying, yes, I'll figure the rest out along the way.
Yeah, that's
Well,
great, Christy. Thank you.
Lori and Jamie, thank you both so much. Your insights are exactly what our listeners need to hear. So, where can everyone find more information about nominating a spouse? Lori, I'm going to have you share that website again. And where can they follow Jamie and the Armed Forces Insurance online?
So the website to go to nominate a spouse is msoy.afi.org. And the website will walk you through the nomination process. And then to follow Jamie, we actually have social properties on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and let's see what and X. And we share content on all of those properties. You can get the address from the MSOY website. It's listed on there front and center, and you'll be able to keep up with all of the things that Jamie and her peers are doing in the program.
Yes. Yep. And I have a dedicated Facebook page to this. I'm not the best poster. I am, again, right. I don't want to take or not showboat is not the right word, but I have a hard time posting because I just want to do the work. So I would say, yes, please go to Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year. Type that into your search bar on any of those social media platforms because the gal that's in charge of those social media networks, she does a great job.
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to go find that. That's really cool. So, ladies, what an incredible conversation. Today we learned about the heart behind the Armed Force Insurance Military Spouse of the Year program, the impact spouses make every day, and how recognition can empower a whole community. Lori and Jamie, thank you so much for joining us and for everything you do to champion military families. To our listeners, if you love today's episode, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this with a spouse you admire. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at This Is MilSpouses and visit milspouses.com for community, resources, and upcoming Military Spouse of the Year nomination information. And with that, I am your host, Christie Nix, signing off the net.